Holy shit, I am live. Am I live? I am live. Welcome to Hair Metal Chaos, live with the Guru and Rachelle. My name is Anthony. They call me the Guru. And we're going to get my better half here in a second. Wait a minute. That was fucked up. Okay. Anyway, if you've noticed, the YouTube thumbnail for this week's video featured both of us in cartoon form. And that's because I'm sick of Stevie always getting to look like a young, hot rock star, and I get to look like an old bald fuck. So there's going to be some thumbnail changes in the next couple weeks. Anyway, the last few weeks we've been talking about certain bands, but not tonight. Tonight we're going to be talking to you, taking your questions, and get them ready. And you might notice some technological advances because we are leaving the dark ages and moving into the modern times. And we'll talk about that as well. So thanks for being here. And remember, you come for the hair metal, but you stay for the chaos. And the chaos begins right after this.
Metal Chaos with the Guru and Rachelle.
And here we go. Let's get me looking normal here. Let's get Stevie Rachelle in here. And Stevie Rachelle, let's get us on the right fucking side. Welcome back, man. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Anthony? And how is everybody out there in
YouTube land.
Hair Metal Chaos land? Can everybody hear me? I guess type loud and clear in the comments if you can hear both of us and you can see both of us.
And wait till we show you guys something. It is going to be fan-fucking-tastic. So should we show them now?
Sure. Well, I turned mine on.
Oh, did you? Shit. Well, I didn't. Because remember how bad we sounded last week and my lighting situation is always bad? Well,
Right.
check these little fucking remotes out here because boom and boom. And it probably looks better when I don't have my hat on because then you don't always see the glare. But I have these fancy ass, where the fuck, lights. Yeah, two of them. Got them from Amazon. So, and you'll notice we are both wearing fucking AirPod microphones. So I think all our sound issues, we are moving into the 21st century. So it is awesome to have you here, Stevie. What's been going on with you?
Just another busy week. If I want to start dropping knowledge about my personal life, I will. I actually went to lunch today. I went to lunch today with Mark Ferrari from Kiel. I've known Mark forever, and he reached out to me a month ago or something, and said, "Hey, let's get lunch." He lives out here on the far end of I think he's in Agora Hills. I'm in the valley in the 818, but we went to a little lunch place this afternoon, had a little lunch, and just chatted about some things. And we've known each other forever, but Mark's a good guy. I think have you done an interview with Mark?
I have interviewed Mark, and I've interviewed Chris McClernand, and I've interviewed Roy Cathy. So I've interviewed 3/4 of Cold Sweat. And rumor has it that I might be interviewing I think it's Anthony White. Anthony White is the other guy. So yeah. Yeah, Mark Ferrari, great guy. And I kind of, totally not the guy you would picture being this, loud, crazy guitar player. Very mild-mannered, well-spoken, business-like. Great guy.
Yeah, Mark's a good guy. I've known him obviously since the Keel days, and obviously there's some Kevin Bacon separation there, meaning, Todd Chaison's brother Kenny Chaison was in Keel. Yep. And so when I first got in the band in the summer of '87, which, you know what I just thought of?
What?
What is today? The 16th? In
16th.
10 days, I will have been in California for 39 years. I flew here on June 25th of 1987. So I'm about to celebrate my 39th year in SoCal. But when I was first in the band, obviously Keel had put out a couple records, and Todd's brother Kenny lived out, I think, in Venice Beach, kind of close to where I think Ron Keel lived really close to him. So I had met those guys, within a first month or so of being in the band. And, now I'm in Southern California and I'm meeting guys that were in bands that I saw and, on tour or in Hit Parader or Circus or whatever. And of course, Todd comes from a family of musicians. His other brother, Greg, is from Badlands.
Yep.
So there's a little connection there. So I've known Mark forever.
What was there ever a point where you thought, you know what? I wish maybe after Tough that you thought I wouldn't mind going back to Wisconsin, going back to where I grew up.
Absolutely not. You mean
Right?
to move back home?
Yeah.
Nah. I mean, I
Yeah.
know the cost of living would be much cheaper than here, but
Yep.
one of the reasons I left for starters was just the weather. Ever since I was young, as a
Oh,
kid, as a little kid, when I would watch TV and I would see, like for instance, Chips. Remember
fuck yes.
the show with the motorcycle cops that would drive down the
John and Punch.
yeah.
John and
So
Punch.
I love that show. They're driving down the freeway and everything. It was like, and wherever they were, the Valley, Whittier, Santa Monica, and seeing the freeways and the beaches and the palm trees. Like I was always not obsessed, but I was, drawn towards the palm tree. And as a
Right.
kid, hearing the Beach Boys, California Girls,
Yeah.
Surf and Safari, all those kind of songs, they were speaking to me. So as soon as I was old enough to get out of the house at 18, I ran to Florida first
Yeah.
for the winter in 84, 85, but then came home and did it. I put in 2 years playing with the band and then, Exciter locally in Wisconsin and said, got to go to California. That was
You know, you,
39 years
you
ago next week.
you were watching Chips. You ended up in California. I was watching fucking Little House on the Prairie, and I stayed in North Dakota. What the hell was I thinking? I should have
Right.
watched more Chips. Um,
Right.
Chris Adams. I just wanted to, because if you do notice, my voice is kind of shot. I feel dramatically better, but Friday and Saturday was bad. I couldn't do my radio show Saturday night. So I do feel fine. My voice is probably going to sound scratchy. So, well, we'll might have to have Stevie do the heavy lifting today. But speaking of comments, thanks Chris for saying that. We are going to be taking questions today. We don't have a band. We don't really have an agenda. So people are always like, man, trying to get my question answered. Sometimes people will message me and say, hey, you guys didn't get to it last time, but I was wondering about this. So we kind of said, hey, let's just do an episode where that's all we do. But I'll say like last episode, we had 1,000 comments in a video. So if we answer a question and it takes 2 minutes, we are missing 40, 50, comments. So
Yeah.
so we might not get to it, and please keep trying because we do want to get to the questions. I'll say this: it is not about money, but when people super chat, it gets highlighted and it's like big and bold. So
Yeah.
we're probably going to answer those first because number one, anybody who contributes is helping us do this.
Yeah.
So but we do want to, if we could, we would get to everybody. So anyway, get your questions ready. You can ask about Tough. You can ask about Metal Sludge, about Stevie living in California, monsters, or whatever you want. And you can ask me about the channel, maybe being when my teaching years, if you wanted to go into the military, if you want to go into interviews or anything you want. So we will try to get to them. But we're gonna start with, we kind of like to review what we've been up to for the last week. So and we just we're going to pick three things. So if you've been watching the channel, you know that yesterday I put out a pretty interesting interview with Chris Holmes from Wasp. It was an hour and 30 whatever minutes, and a lot of interesting stuff about his
It's got over 10,000 views already in
yeah,
like 24 hours, right?
yeah.
which is
Yeah.
great for your channel. That's a great number right out of the box, you know.
Um, I lately it's just Taylor Lane is over 30,000 from a week and a
Awesome.
half ago, and shit, bass player LA Guns Kelly Nichols is over
Kelly
20.
Nichols.
And then Chris went over 10 in a day. So thank you to everyone who watches. And I'll just say this: if you watch the interview, a lot of people said, "Wow, that went all over the place." And somebody said that to me, and I said, you know what? There's some interviews where you feel like you control the interview, and there's some interviews where you feel like you're just hanging on for dear life and you just follow the artist where they want to go. And that was one of those interviews where I just followed Chris. And I've always said I want the artist to tell their story however they want to tell it. So it was a blast. And yeah, it's doing pretty well. So did the
I'd
Chris
like
interview? Yeah, go ahead.
I'd like to say something about Chris. So, it's funny for the people that don't know Chris or have never met him. Since I came to LA over the years, I would see him out once in a while, but probably in the late 90s, in the early 2000s, after he was out of WASP at some point, I would see him there was a popular club that happened a few times a month called Club Vodka. And he would get up and jam. He would get up and jam with guys from different bands, whether it was Brian Tishy or Brent Woods or whoever. And I'll tell you this about Chris. He is the nicest man. He is polite.
Yes.
He is
Yes.
kind. He is respectful. I've seen him at any club, the Key Club, Club Vodka, wherever they held it, at the Knitting Factory, at the Roxy. I've been backstage. And if a woman walks in the door, how are you, ma'am? He's very polite. If there's a chair, he says, would you like to sit down? And if a guy walks in the room with pink hair, eyeliner, 1,000 bracelets, wearing a Poison shirt, he's like, hey, dude, what's up? What band are you in? There's no like, hey, I'm Chris Holmes. I'm the mean man. I'm the metal guy. You're a glam fag, whatever. Like, he's just always been nice. He's always
Yes.
been kind. And he's a very, very nice person. He just is. He really is. He's a great guy. So for those that see that persona of him being the mean man on stage, or then, he's a little all over the place, he's going to be the first one to admit it. He's drank himself to oblivion, and he's happy to
Yeah.
be alive right now, because he probably shouldn't be in some ways, because he partied pretty hard for probably 4 decades plus,
Yeah. At the beginning of and I've never had an interview where I thought, wow, that guy was rude. What a dick. But, some people just get on and they're like, okay, tell me when you're ready. We'll start. Chris is like, where are you from? And he's like, here's my dog. And I go, holy shit, it's a white dog. I go, well, fuck, here's my dog. So we're
Mm-hmm.
talking about dogs for 3 minutes. And I had hit record. And usually I delete everything that was before the intro, because usually
Mm-hmm.
we just make small talk. But I
Right.
was like, you know what? I'm going to leave that in, because it just showed how nice of a guy Chris is.
He's
And
very
we sat and
genuine.
chatted yes, totally.
Very genuine.
So,
Yeah.
and then we did on Friday, I put out a video where we reviewed the Bret Michaels A Letter from Death Row soundtrack and movie from 1998. It kind of disappeared. It was direct to video. Have you
Thank,
ever seen the
thank,
movie?
thank God it disappeared. Are you asking me if I ever saw it?
Yeah.
I saw a couple clips of it.
Yeah.
I don't remember.
Yeah.
I know it was horrible. The soundtrack, or whatever, that red CD, was even more horrible. I know that at some point in the early days of Sludge, which Sludge launched in '98, and so when did that movie come out, or when was it released, or the soundtrack? About the same time.
98.
Yeah.
98.
So at some point, I don't even know who it was, but we got contacted. We used to get contacted by labels all the time, CMC, Spitfire. And we used to do this stuff where we'd say, hey, send us some of your CDs for promo. If you want to send us a bunch, we'll include free CDs with every shirt we ship, which, by the way, is something
Right.
I do pretty often. So if you buy a tough shirt
Yes.
from me, you're probably going to get a CD. But
Yeah.
and I remember we got like a box of these red. The artwork was kind of red, right? Brett's on the cover. And I just remember it being kind of like, I watched your review where you just said it looked pretty cheap. The artwork looked a
Yeah.
little elementary, and this
Yeah.
isn't a beat up on Brett comment,
No.
but
No.
it was a bad movie. It was a worse soundtrack, and it, I saw something you pointed out too, that he takes credit because he's the writer, the producer, the director, the
Yeah.
artist, the photographer,
Yeah.
the songwriter,
The caterer.
the graphics person. It was like, yeah, kind of funny.
Yeah. And then I put out a video today. Me and Ryan talked about 10 hair metal albums that had only one great song, and we're getting shit on all over in the comments. Well, Ryan is, because one of his was Motley Crue, Too Fast for Love. He said there's only one good song on that album. So anyway, we
No,
put that out today.
that's a great record.
Fucking A. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I did videos almost every day this week. So a lot of stuff going on in the channel. I appreciate all you guys supporting the channel and watching. So what's going on Sludge lately?
Oh, let's see. Well, last week at the end of mid late week, I did a little post on Quiet Riot
Yeah.
because they're going to go to South America for the first time in a while, probably in a long while, and they're going in the spring of 2027, and they're going to play. Let's see, Brazil, Peru, Argentina, Chile, Colombia, Bolivia. I'm missing a couple. I think there's 7 or 8 shows, but all over. Mexico is one, so I guess it's Latin America. So it's some stuff in Central America and some in South America. But I know that every time I've gone down to Brazil, and I've been to Peru, and I've been to Mexico and Costa Rica, I was in the airport in Panama. It's always interesting to go to another part of the world, and when you're in that part of the world, it. Great food, a lot of really, really nice people. But Quiet Riot themselves, how crazy they're going to go play 7, 8 shows. Obviously, Rudy's probably been in a lot of those places. I don't know that Jizzy's been to all of those places. He's probably been to a couple. I did talk to Alex about it, and he said that he had been to some of those places with Kevin and Frankie like 20 years ago when he first got in the band. But
Right.
so I did a little post on Quiet Riot. They're obviously still out there. Rudy is a legend. That guy's in his 70s, and literally 3 weekends out of the month, give or take, sometimes more. He's getting up, going to the airport with his bass, going through security, getting on a plane. I mean, I've talked about this before as far as touring is concerned. And people say, why don't you do this? Why don't you go there? Why don't you try it over here? Why don't you play this club? There's a lot of things that go into it, but you see people that go online and they go, we just got back from a family vacation. We were in Florida for a week with the kids, Disneyland or Disney World or Epcot Center. And they're gone for a week or 10 days, and they come home, they're doing laundry, they're unpacking, they're trying to get back to normal life, and they're just exhausted. They're like, oh my God, the airport was a nightmare. The car rental return was a nightmare. They lost one of our bags. The hotel check-in was ridiculous, blah, blah, blah. And I'm thinking, the average family vacation is once a year, maybe twice, something in the summer, something in the winter. These bands that go out, Warrant, Slaughter, Great White, Skid Row at some point, literally those bands, 20, 30, 40 weekends per year.
Yes.
They're going to the airport, going through all this stuff. And then when you go, like when they're going to go to South America, they're going to probably fly every day.
Yeah.
And I know that we did. When we went to Australia, we flew from Los Angeles to Bali, changed planes in Bali, flew to Brisbane, stayed in Brisbane one night, played Brisbane the next day. The very next morning, woke up, flew to Melbourne, played Melbourne that night. Very next morning, woke up, flew to Adelaide, played Adelaide that night. The very next morning, woke up, flew to Sydney, played Sydney that night. And the very next day, flew back to Bali and then got on another plane back to Los Angeles. So in 7 days, we were on like, I don't know, 7, 8 flights.
It was probably pure misery.
It wasn't. It wasn't.
I mean, but all right, I'm like Rudy.
It can be.
Rudy being in his 70s. I'm sure the shows are awesome, but all of that travel for me, I wouldn't be like fucking A. I'm excited. I'd be like, oh fuck, this travel's gonna suck. Shows are gonna be fun, but
well, that's what I remember. Janie Lane said this in an interview, and a lot of the other guys. they've said, I play the shows for free. You're really
Yeah.
paying me to travel,
Right.
and it's just there's a lot of stuff to go with that. So, all respect,
Yep.
Quiet Riot is still out there doing it. I give them, you know, full respect and a full
Totally.
pass. Rudy's there. Alex has been there since Kevin and Frankie were alive.
Yep.
Frankie handpicked Johnny Kelly from Typo Negative to step in, and what couldn't be a better choice. Big,
Yep.
strong Italian guy from New York, slamming the
Yeah.
drums. And Jizzy, I don't know if anybody knows this, but you can Google it. Google on metal. Go to Google and search Metal Sludge Kevin DeBro 20 questions. When we did Rate a Singer with Kevin DeBro 20 some years ago, probably 25 years ago, Jizzy Pearl is one guy that he gave a glowing review to. And I showed that to
Right.
Frankie at some point. He was like, because Kevin kind of, he didn't give Bret Michaels or Vince Neil or even Roth the highest ratings. He said some of the guys were good singers, but he spoke very highly of Jizzy Pearl. And how ironic is it that years later, Jizzy would be the guy that
Yep.
best has replaced Kevin?
Yep. And then what else did you have going on Sludge?
So also picked up that story that I was on Blabbermouth and it's a few other places. Lizzie Hale recently did an interview and said that she had heard from Rita Haney, who
Haney.
is which is Dimebags. They called her Dimebags Hag, which she I guess agrees with that. But she was Dimebag's girlfriend forever. She was as close to his wife as can be, and she's in charge of his estate. So she was hanging out with Lizzie Hale, I guess, and Rita Haney told Lizzie that she was with Sebastian one night and they were watching videos of Lizzie singing for Skid Row. And Rita said that Sebastian said, you know what? I hate those guys, but she's effing awesome. So she was stoked to hear that, which is cool. Obviously, Sebastian did give her a thumbs up, but kind of told a little white lie on himself because at some point he said he's never heard anybody sing for the band, which we all know he's heard everybody. He's heard Solinger, he's heard Tony Arnell, he's heard Eric Wright,
Of course.
everybody. At some point he couldn't have escaped it because his name is synonymous with Skid Row and it's in his feed. So it's going to happen,
Yep.
And then lastly, I'll just go ahead.
Yep. Go ahead. You did something on the Get on the Bus. Quit talking over me, fucker.
Yeah, sorry. The last thing I'll just say is I did a little Steven Adler blurb for my buddies from Get on the Bus. It's a great interview. It just went up like over the weekend, and Steven is in rare form, talking all kinds of stories about Slash and Axl and how they all met and how he went to school with Slash and Tracy Guns and how Slash found a pair of old leather pants in a garbage can and then wore them for 3 years and all kinds of fun stuff. So that's a cool little article that's on Sludge, and then follow it and watch Get on the Bus. So that's my top 3 for the week.
If you didn't know, the guys from Get on the Bus are Drew and Jimmy D from the band Wild Side.
Yep.
The Under the Influence album, I think, is one of the greatest records of all time. I just interviewed Mark Simon on bass. That will be coming out, but and that interview is getting close to like 95,000 views. It'll probably be over 100 by tonight. So amazing shit. Good for them.
And speaking of Get on the Bus, guess who else did Get on the Bus?
You did.
Me.
Awesome.
So
awesome.
I did it a week ago. Me and Mike Tramp did it the same day. I went to the Striper White Lion show, and I hung out with Michael Sweet a little bit backstage too. So I caught up with Michael, caught up with Tramp and Jerry Best, and of course everybody's favorite beautiful drummer with the most amazing hair, Mr. Troy Patrick Farrell.
Yeah.
So, or as I call him, Troy Patrick Farrah, because he's got amazing hair. So I did Get on the Bus, and I'm sure at some point in a month or so that'll come out, and I'm stoked that Jimmy and Drew included me. So I look forward to that.
I will point out that I will have an interview coming out this next week. I think this Monday will be Chips Enough from Enough's Enough.
Nice.
I did 2 hours and 45 minutes with Wednesday 13. Super
Awesome.
excited about that. I have one with Roy Cathy from Cold Sweat coming out, and I have got some shit scheduled that is fucking awesome. So anyway, moving on. I have a ton of, as you were talking and I was trying to pay attention, I was also
Okay.
starring some questions. So we got a couple super chats in here. Thank you guys.
Bring it.
And no, you don't need the super chat to get your question answered. I'll be honest, it will be a for sure because we see those easier. But here's the first one. Zach Cook gave a super chat, said, I messaged Stevie on Facebook about a New Orleans show. Be cool to get Tough and Lillian Axe on the same bill. I love Lillian Axe. So,
Yeah, and Stevie Blaze is a buddy. We've never played New Orleans, and I don't know. Did I reply to you, Zach? I don't remember. Sometimes
I
messages
thought we
get,
talked about that.
yeah, maybe we had. But either way, I'd love to play New Orleans, but again, it's the same old story where we got to get a promoter to coordinate
Yeah.
it, arrange it. Like I can't just go like, "Hey, we're coming to New Orleans, and where's the club?" and we'll show up with a guitar, you know. So I'd love to play down there and check out. What is it? Beale Street? Is that one of the famous?
Beale Street? I think so.
Yeah.
I think so. I'll say uh, Steve Blaze was, I think, the first rock star who ever messaged me and said, hey, I will come on for an interview because I did a video about Lillian Axe. And he
Right.
messaged me. I was like, holy shit, somebody actually wants me to interview them instead of me. Anyway, it was amazing. So
Right.
here is one from Patrick Reeves, my brother from another mother, who does so much. He's just a part of the channel. One of my best friends. Fucking love that guy. Says, Stevie, did you ever get to hear unreleased Janie Lane material? And your thoughts on it ever coming out? Maybe the Jabberwocky stuff, or what do you think of that?
I'll bet you somewhere I probably have half a dozen odd discs of Janie Lane demos and stuff that people had given me or sent or forwarded. And I remember listening to some of it. Again, Janie was one of those guys that could just sit down with a guitar and
Yeah.
spit something out, and it had depth to it and had quality. He was a wordsmith too. He wrote great lyrics and great parts, and but as far as it ever coming out, it's hard to say. I mean, as many people that want to try to help it come out or say let's do something to make it come out, it's realistically not going to unless the family themselves get behind
Yeah.
it. So you can ask all you want. You could say, I know a guy that has a printer, and I know a guy that does great art, and I know a guy that does mastering. None of that matters because at the end of the day, it's going to be up to a handful of people, including those who might have worked on the stuff with it. Like probably Carrie Kelly is
Rick
probably involved, or
Steyer.
those guys were probably co-writers, or maybe Kerry Kelly had a studio and at his place. I recorded there. Janie was down there a lot. So it's not just one or two people. There's a lot of different hands. And then you got to find out, is whoever the label is, are they going to do it right? Are they going to treat it right? Are they going to give the proceeds to the right people? There's a lot of uphill battles in doing that stuff, especially when somebody has passed away. And there
And
wasn't per se a proper handoff of, hey,
yeah.
you're going to be in charge of my stuff when I'm gone, which Janie didn't know he was going to pass away, where Frankie Banali knew death was imminent, for a year and a half or whatever it was. So he had time to set everything up with his wife and even with the band and agency. And so the transfer was a little smoother. And obviously Quiet Riot has continued to go forward like that.
But I know that both of the daughters, Taylor and Madison, are interested. But like you said, there's so much more than just, yeah, we'd love to put it out. That has to
Exactly.
be dealt with before that would ever happen. But I know us diehard Warrant fans, of which I am one, would love to
Right.
see a proper release,
Right.
give the people, whoever worked on it, hopefully everybody gets to benefit from it. But the fans would really benefit from seeing that stuff come out. So
Agree.
here is from Hobo Raider. Who would have won that fight between Axel and Vince Neil? I'm going to say Axel because Axel was crazy. Back in the day, I thought Vince looked like he could take care of some shit. I thought Axel looked kind of puny. So I would have said Vince.
I would say Axel as well. Axel just seemed like a little bit more of a street guy, you
Right.
know, but I think there was a lot of hot air being pushed around by both of them, you know?
Yep. And here to Zen says Stevie, I think we need a movie called Gorilla in a Car Park. Would you be up to direct it? Is that about
Danny,
what?
I
Yeah,
think that's about. I think
Silverback.
he's referring to Danny from Silverback in Australia. In case
Yep.
nobody knows, well, it's going to come out now, but
Yeah.
myself and a gentleman named Marcelo from Australia, who kind of tipped me off to Danny's unethical ways back in late 2025 into early 2026. So when our tour did come to fall apart for Trickster and myself and Lorraine Lewis to go down under, by the time that happened, there had been a lot of stuff that we had learned. And Danny, according to dozens, and when I say dozens, it's like 40, probably closer to 50 different people, bands, agents, managers, production workers, former employees, investors, opening bands, tribute bands, companies that were involved, travel agencies are owed substantial amounts of money. And obviously, everybody read my article that I wrote back in March, Dear Danny Bazzi, about why I was so disappointed in him, because he was at some point a friend. But I basically distanced myself from him when I learned of all this stuff and then put the article out. Well, since the article, Marcelo and myself have been in contact with a current affair in Australia for the last 2 months. And last week, I filmed a segment for a current affair here in Los Angeles at my house.
Yep. Yep.
Cherie Curry did. Marcelo did, a former employee of Silverback and an investor who had invested $30,000. I believe Cassidy Paris is also interviewed because she is owed money, along with some others. And so the teaser from A Current Affair just hit, I think, late last night or this morning in Australia. And the full show is going to air on Thursday night down under in Australia. To those listening or watching in America or Europe or elsewhere, A Current Affair is massive in Australia. It's as big today as it was in America in the 80s and 90s. It's on prime time, Monday through Thursday. Millions and millions of viewers. Their Facebook page alone has got 3 or 4 million followers. And so the time has come for Danny and Silverback to be exposed on a national and international level. And I've been doing this behind the scenes with Marcelo and some others for the last 2 months. And our work is going to pay off at some point. So we just need to make sure that nobody else gets burned.
And it's going to be on YouTube here in America Thursday.
It will be.
Or Thursday. Okay.
Well, it's going to be it's going to be Thursday in Australia, which is really Wednesday here. So I think by tomorrow or tomorrow night, we should probably start to see the videos circulating. And they do share everything through their YouTube channel and various shorts and clips, not only on YouTube, but through social media like Facebook and other platforms.
And I saw a reminder that fucking dumbass us, Beale Street is in Memphis, not right. I think Bourbon Street is in New Orleans.
Bourbon Street.
So
I've been to Memphis once, and we got our truck stolen. So I don't have a lot of experience in Memphis and almost no experience in New Orleans. So pardon me.
Yes. David Lee Roth News Desk says Anthony should gargle, not swallow. I think that's a reference to the Sebastian Bach, Rob Halford video. that I put out this week. If you didn't see that, it was actually an interview from 5 years ago, but Sebastian Bach is talking about Rob Halford, and he's telling the interviewer how impressed he is that Rob doesn't warm up. And then the interviewer made a homosexual remark. Sebastian got offended. Anyway, I think that's what that comment is about. So it was it was actually a pretty funny story. Here, I'll throw so I'm going through you guys, and these are not super chats. I've highlighted a bunch. So
Okay.
I'm going to try to get to as many as I can. And this one says, Guru, what's been your fanboy interview so far? I think well, I don't want to kiss Stevie's ass, but like when I interviewed him, I was pretty excited because I was like such a metal Sludge fan. I was such a tough
Right.
fan. But excluding present company aside, having Ricky Rocket come on, a multi-platinum artist and I had done Mark Kendall before, but I was the biggest Poison fan. So Ricky Rocket was probably the first time I was like, holy fuck, like here we go. And it's probably happened multiple times, but now I've gotten to where I've done so many interviews that I don't really think about it anymore. So, but yeah, that was a big one. Here we go, Stevie. Stevie, were you ever disappointed or disenchanted by what the music industry was really like? The false perception of glitz and glamour versus the business and all the other stuff. It's a good question.
Well, one thing I will say is this. I don't know if the word disappointed or disenchanted really works, but this is part of the reason why I started Metal Sludge in 1998.
Yep.
A dozen years or so after I had, been in this industry ongoing, and I just saw some of what I thought to be kind of phony at times, guys that I thought were full of shit, you know. And at some point, that's kind of why I started Metal Sludge, and it was to call out not just musicians who I felt like were left of center for whatever reason, but just like I just said about this promoter guy, I've done some of these other articles on other promotions or clubs or promoters and events that were just not being run as they should, and at the end of the day, fans were getting taken advantage of. They were getting
Right.
scammed,
Yep.
or misled. So I don't know. I mean, here's something else to your question. I might have said this in a previous interview. So I'm in Tough for a couple months, and one morning I get up to go to this little corner market to buy some orange juice and donuts for breakfast. And while I'm in there, I'm looking in the 7-Eleven type door, right, with all the drinks. And I look to my left and I see this guy, long black hair, leather jacket. And all of a sudden I realize that's Randy Piper from Wasp. Oh my God. This is my first real sighting of a rock star. Like, this is a guy I saw in concert, I saw in magazines, and saw him on MTV. And he's standing there. And the first thing I thought was, what is he doing here? This is kind of a poor neighborhood. In Van Nuys, kind of a ghetto area, and I'm thinking, why is he over here? Doesn't he live in some mansion, in the Hollywood Hills or out in Malibu? Well, that was, my first experience of realizing that even though guys were signed to record labels or maybe on MTV or on tour in an arena, I mean, Chris Holmes said to you in the interview at some point, and this was one of those last tours he did, what was it, in the 90s or early 2000s, and he was told he was getting $1,000 a week, right?
Right.
That's what he said to go on tour. So disappointed, disenchanted, I guess I was learning pretty quickly that things were not as though they seemed. Just because somebody was in a magazine, just because, somebody's CD, was in a store, or their band was on concert, in concert, or they were in a tour bus or on the radio, it did not mean that they were a millionaire. It did not mean that they were this big superstar, So I started learning that pretty early. and at some point came to the realization that a lot of what I was going to do and what I have done for the last 40 years is pretty much like a normal job. It's just
Yes.
that I'm not a plumber, I'm not an accountant, I'm not in the military, I'm not a teacher, I don't drive a dump truck. I'm a singer in a band, and I make a very normal living and
Yeah.
live a pretty basic life, you know?
Right. Right. I've just now started to get to where I tell people that I work in music
Right,
and feel comfortable saying. I mean, I obviously
right,
do other things. I
right,
coach and all that, but I've grown to where like okay, I can say that I work in music because I mean I do. I spend more time doing this than anything else. So
right.
somebody threw out this comment, and I thought it was a good idea about the B. What was it? The B-52 bombers, those soldiers that died. I think it was 12 soldiers. So anyway, my heart
8,
goes out to those guys. Was it eight?
8 total, and
Okay.
I think five were soldiers and 3 were civilians that worked for Boeing or something like that, is what I heard earlier today.
Right, right. So I don't have it right in front of me, but anyway, could acknowledge that.
Yeah.
And here's Manuel, Manuel Zaga was in the army from 81 to 92 and then taught special ed for 10 years. That is fucking awesome. And I'll say this about teaching. One of my favorite things I ever did, I was teaching seventh grade English, and I got to be friends with the special ed teacher. And I would go hang out with these special ed kids, and there was like 15 kids. And I was like, you know what? Could I set up something where I would have my students come down for one period a week and work with these guys? Because they were special ed kids that were like 12, 13, 14, but mentally were, you're, you're kind of fucking with me there.
No,
Mentally, we're like
just
four.
so you know, I'll let you finish. I'm posting right now on Facebook. I want everyone to come. I
Oh,
said
yeah,
I'm
yeah, yeah.
on I'm
Do
on Hair
that.
Metal Chaos right
Do
now.
that.
Come and
Do
visit us.
that.
So go ahead.
Yep. But anyway, so I had four seventh grade English classes, and one day a week they would go down and hang out with these special ed kids. And the first couple days, everybody was like, they're like, holy crap, they're scared to hang out with their, because it's like three kids would be with one special ed kid and do these activities. Anyway, long story short, by the end of that semester, I had them write a paper about what the experience was like. And to hear these kids go, you know what? On the first day, I was scared of whatever kid, because some of these, they were big kids. And by the end, I was seeing them in the hallway and interacting with them and
Right.
loving going to hang. It was just one of the best experiences I ever had as a teacher. So, anyway,
Awesome.
thanks for that. Thanks for that comment. Here's one for both of us. And I see multiple comments, and I'll highlight one that say this: Stevie, thanks for the vinyl and the other goodies. Stevie always throws in something extra, it seems like. So I see that comment a lot. So very cool.
Thank you, Mike. It is
Yep.
Mike, right?
Yep. It's Mike. And here, Raymond, and I thought maybe this would be fun. Stevie and Guru, what did you guys want to be when you were growing up?
You want me to go first?
Sure. Go ahead. I need a drink of water
My
anyway.
the initial thing I wanted to be was a garbage man, and I'm not joking. I wanted to, when the garbage men ride by your house and the guy's standing on that little thing and he's holding on the edge of it, and then he just throws the garbage and then he
Yep.
gets. I wanted to be a garbage man or a fireman because they also ride on the side of the truck and they just kind of hold on. So I wanted to be a
Right.
garbage man or a fireman. Um, and that was like as a little kid though, like 5 years old. Then as I got a little
Yep.
older, I wanted to work at the donut shop. So, that was a fantasy to work at Mr. Donut. So that was supposed to be funny, Anthony. You're not laughing.
That was funny.
Um,
Shit. Sorry, I was looking at my next comment. My bad.
so, yeah, I was just like, and then, then by the time I was a teenager for real, like I don't know what I wanted to be, but I all I knew is I wanted to skateboard. I wanted to become a
Yeah.
professional skateboarder, which I was close to doing that. And then around 1984, thanks to Vince Neil and Motley Crue, and Stephen Pearcy and Rat, and Dave and Van Halen, and Jamie and Black and Blue. That's my Mount Rushmore
Your Mount
for
Rushmore?
for the at the time. Yes, it was Vince, Dave, Piercy, and St. James. Those were the four guys that made me want to be a front man. So that's and at some point I didn't realize that it was going to still be like this, you know, 40 some years later. If somebody would have said, "Oh, are you still going to be doing this when you're 60?" I'd have been like,
Right.
"No." I mean, I
Yeah.
would have
Yeah.
probably said no at 40 or 50,
Right.
but here I am.
Totally. When I was a kid, I wanted to work at a bank. I wanted to work real hard, work my way up to manager. Then I was going
Right?
to rob that fucking place blind. No, I'm just kidding. Here's who I really wanted to be. Julius Irving was my
Nice.
hero. But before I got into basketball, I wanted to play for the Steelers. And my mom frequently reminds me that when I was a kid, I said I was going to play for the Steelers and I promised to buy her a house. And all I got to say about that is, sorry, Ma, I fucked up. So anyway, but when I got to high school, I'll be honest, I wanted to work in music. I thought I was going to be a radio DJ. In my first year of school, I went for communications because I lived music in high school, but I ended up
Right?
going to be a teacher. So yeah. So um, we we get this one a lot, and I just thought I think you probably answered it, but it's about George. How is George? He was my buddy there in Hollywood. That's from Kelly. I don't know if you want to do a brief update.
There's no update, Kelly. George is in Florida and he doesn't want anything to do with Tough or me or anything related. So, and that's been like that forever, for like 20 years. So he's completely removed himself from music and the whole process. Anything related, he's not involved. I'm guessing he's probably still playing guitar, but no ill will, no hate, but George has had some issues along the way and had to work on himself as a person more than anything. So
Haven't you had to do that for a while?
still
Work on
doing it
yourself.
today. Yeah, still doing it today.
That's right. Hey, everybody, hit the like button. Chaos Mongers. That's kind of a good nickname. Chaos or the Chaos Crew. Everybody can be the Chaos Crew. Only 46 likes so far. What's up? And I will point out that we have over 250 people watching. And even
Nice.
on the day when we got close to 400, it usually starts like this. Starts at 1:30, gets up to 2. So yes, if you could share with people, tell them how our lighting is good, tell them how our audio is so much better. In fact, you and I would probably look better if we had zero lighting. So maybe we should turn that shit off. Anyway,
Let's see how it looks with
um,
no lighting.
here you
So
go.
let me ask you this. I'm curious to all the people watching. I wonder if has Sebastian Bach acknowledged what happened on the cruise with either Ted or myself? Because I've had a few people ask me that in the last couple of weeks that just randomly reached out and said, "Hey, when all that stuff happened with you and Sebastian on the cruise, and now you guys are both going to be on the cruise again next year." I've had a few people say, "Was there any what's the word? Blow up after the fact, And I'm like, well, I never heard anything from Sebastian. Not that he would say anything to me directly, but
Right.
did he say anything online? Did anybody make a comment and
Yeah.
say, "Hey, dude, what happened with you and Stevie on the cruise, or you and Ted on the cruise?" And I figured at some point, as many people are out there and they do interact with, not everybody's blocked, right? I mean, at some
Right.
point you'd think that, and I don't know if anybody knows if he's ever said anything. What's the deal?
I don't think he has. You know what else we were kind of waiting to hear on was Brett Michaels said that he was going to address the poison issue after Memorial Day. Remember, after Ricky Rocket shared that they had an offer, Brett said, "Hey, it's Memorial Day. Let's observe that, and we'll talk about poison after that." Well, I think we're
Yep.
still waiting on that too. So, yeah.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I would guess those guys are probably deep in conversation, deep in debate, deep in
Yeah.
dealing with each other in meetings, and who knows which way it's going. Perhaps Brett found himself, maybe with the other guys having a little bit of an advantage due to the fact that all that stuff kind of blew up on him, and people were saying like, hey, you've kind of made Brett's kind of insinuated a few times over the last few years, next year we're going to do it. Next year we're going to do it. 40 years we're going to do it. Then he said 2027 sounds great. Well, then the last couple times he's talked about it, it was like, we're going to try. And I thought, well, the other three guys they're not trying. They're ready to go. They're like, listen, we want to go tour. So
Yeah.
Brett's the one who's got to try. He can't say we're going to
Yeah.
try. They're all ready to go, but they also don't want to go for free or say, hey, yeah,
Right.
you can take 65% of the money and we'll split a couple bucks after we pay for the trucks, and the gas and the road crew. So
Yeah. It's we said before, I think Ricky and the band were trying to force him to come out and say a statement either
I
way,
think so as well.
because we believe that if he doesn't do it, they are seriously thinking about getting somebody else. So,
Right.
hey, and I've had a couple, like sometimes people will super chat, and like later on they'll be like, hey, are they going to do my super chat? I have them marked down. If I do miss one, it will be by accident. But sometimes I have like an order of questions. So but
Right.
I will try to make sure I don't miss any super chats. And if you really do think I've missed one, please let me know and let other people know in the comments. But here's one from Jordan Skull. That's got to be a Vikings thing. Would you interview Don Dokken? Also, Don's debut album, Up From the Ashes, is super underrated. They were way better than Motley and Rat. Super group musicians. Totally. I am in the process of working on, I think I will be interviewing Lisa Pilson, who was married to Jeff Pilson. And I would love to interview Don Dokken. There are not many people that I would say, you know what, I don't want to interview them. I really want to interview everybody. So if I could set that up, would be amazing. So hopefully. And Up From the Ashes was a great record. If that would have been called Dokken and not Don Dokken, it would have sold dramatically better. Stevie, you a Dokken fan?
Let's see. I remember probably 84, 85 being at home and seeing a commercial for Sammy Hagar on the I Can't Drive 55 tour. And it came on my TV live in concert. Sammy Hagar, the Red Rocker, with his hits, Three Lock Boxing, I Can't Drive 55 or whatever. And then all of a sudden, with special guest, Dokken, Into the Fire, and then they showed part of that clip and part of Alone Again. And I was like, oh, those guys are great. And I literally heard the commercial that day and then went to Green Bay that night to see, because I wouldn't have went to go see Sammy Hagar. I just wasn't that big of a fan. But when I
Okay.
saw the Dokken thing, I was like, let's go. So I went, and I remember watching the show. I thought they were great. I thought George was obviously ripping. He looked cool. He had great hair, with his different colored hair and playing the Bengal Charvels. And then I remember Jeff Pilson singing Just Got Lucky. And
Yeah.
Don left the stage. And I thought, why is the bass player singing? And oddly enough, he sounds better than the singer. I remember thinking that.
Right.
Because Jeff's got a
Right.
great voice.
Yeah.
Over the years, I became friends with Jeff and some of the guys I'd say hi to once in a while. Remember, we did a photo shoot one time. We were coming to do a photo shoot, and Dokken was leaving. We were at William Hames' studio, and George Lynch was playing a guitar. And George DeSaint, our guitarist, came in and started talking to George Lynch. And then at some point, Lynch gave him the guitar, and George picked it up and played like for 30 seconds and broke a string on Lynch's guitar, which I thought was kind of funny. And then over the years, we played a couple of shows with Doc in here and there. We did play one show with Don Dokken on his Up from the Ashes tour, and that was in
Oh,
probably 91. When did that record come out? Does that sound about right?
91.
Yeah, we opened up for him. And on that bill, it was three bands. The Romantics went on first, then Tough, then Dokken. And I thought to myself, why are the Romantics going on before us? They've got, a handful of hit songs and sold probably a gold or platinum record or two. But that's the way the bill was set up, and Tough opened for Don Dokken.
It was 1990. I know somebody's going to be in the comments and be like, listen here, fucker, it was 1990. So
But
it
the
was
show,
1990.
but the show was in the spring of 91 that we actually opened for him. So, what happened?
Oh,
You're seeing something. Good
oh,
question.
fuck it. No, well, I just wanted to point. So this is Lisa Pilson's book.
Ah, okay.
And it was short. It was an easy read, but some pretty good information about. She was kind of got to know some rock stars back in the day. Married Jeff Pilson. She had some really cool stories about when they got back together for the Dysfunctional record. So anyway, I don't
So
know.
she got to know different rock stars.
Yeah, she did.
Like,
Have you ever met Lisa Pilson?
as a
Because
matter of fact,
you're in this book.
what? I'm in the
You,
book. Oh
you are in
no.
the book. I
Oh
don't remember
well.
what
Okay.
page, but you are in the
Okay.
book.
Some shit happens once in a while.
Shit happens. Shit happens.
I'm trying to
Let's see what.
I'm trying to dim the light a little bit.
Yeah, I kind of feel like I'm kind of late too.
I feel
Let's
like I'm orange.
Here, we'll do this one real quick because I'd be interested to know your opinion. A lot of rock stars are doing records on Frontiers. Stevie, what do you think of Frontiers? He says it's Kiss Stereo. They release a ton of nostalgia driven hard rock acts, but somehow every album ends up sounding the same. Well, I'll just say
Thank you.
personally, yep. It's because they have the same songwriters writing all the songs. The artists aren't writing those songs.
Well, and it depends. Like, and I said this before. I've made a couple of comments online. There's a handful of artists that they sign, and then they're on speed dial. In other words, I did a review of Sunbomb, which was Michael Sweet and Tracy Guns. And, when I had a conversation with Michael Sweet on the phone, I brought this up because I gave it 2 out of 5 stars. And the headline was something on Metal Sludge like "Bomb is right." And I gave it 1 star for having Tracy Guns in the band and 1 star for having Michael Sweet from Stryper in the band. And then that was it. No more stars. I just thought it was probably some regurgitated riffs of Tracy's and some other stuff of Michael's, and
Yeah,
Frontiers said, "Hey, here's 20 grand or whatever it is. Rip us off a dozen demos and send them when they're ready, and we'll master it. And then hey, this is what we're going to call it, and here's the artwork." And they throw it out. The band never plays. Then they did the same thing with Tracy Guns and Jack Russell, and and then Tracy Guns and this singer, and and then Jack Russell and that guy, and George Lynch and this guy, and there's like 3 or 4 guitarists and 3 or 4 singers, and they just keep intermixing
yeah,
and matching them. Most of
yeah,
the bands, for the most part, never play, or if they're going to, it's going to be like a one-off show.
yeah,
Hey, it is what it is. Frontiers does what they do.
yep,
I'm not a huge fan. At some point, I mean, it's not that I'm not a huge fan. Like, they came to me at some point many years ago, probably 15 years ago, and they offered us some fee, and they wanted a whole bunch of songs, and they wanted to be all original members. And I said, that's never going to happen.
yeah,
And I know also, they offered the bands, hey, we'll put out your record, and then you can come and play our festival. Which everyone goes, oh, wow, I want to go to Italy and play. But then when you go play their festival, even if you're the band that plays at 2:00 in the afternoon for 30 minutes, they say you can't play anywhere else in Europe for 2 months before and a month after, So they want that clause. It's a radius
right,
clause. And a lot of promoters do that. They'll say, hey, if you're going to play in Milwaukee, or you know, if you're going to play in Chicago, you can't play in Milwaukee or Rockford within
Right.
30 days or something like that.
Right.
Something like that. But so sometimes and for to sign a deal with a small indie label and then give them 12 or 15 songs and then go play one show for 30 minutes at 2 p.m. in Italy and go all the way there, but not be able to play any other shows and be kind of limited as to what you can or can't sell. And I can tell you that the merchandise tent, probably mostly Frontiers products. The bands might get
Right.
a cut, but it's not like they say, hey, we're going to bring all our own shit and sell it. Frontiers has kind of got a monopoly on all the bands and the products. And then they reissue it and they put it out on picture disc and CD and remaster and colored vinyl and reissue this and anniversary version that, and so
Yeah.
they'll continue to sell it forever,
They put out.
all this behind me and everything that's in the garage, that's RLS Records. So nobody
Yeah.
collects on that. I collect on that,
Right.
and so if you sign to a label, they're in control of all your stuff, your masters, your publishing, and every piece that gets sold, whether it's 1, 2, or 50 to a store or to a fan, they kind of control that. If you sign to one of those labels, and I haven't signed to any labels since back in the day,
They put out some good stuff. Cassidy Paris's album. They do put out artists who write their own music. Smoking Snakes from Sweden has an album coming out. That's a band I'm super excited about on
hmm
Frontiers. But when you used to see those projects like Michael Sweet and George Lynch or Jack Russell and Tracy Guns,
hmm
I think people think, oh, Jack Russell and Tracy Guns got in a room and wrote an album and they
right.
put it out on Frontiers. It's some other guys wrote a bunch of demos and Jack sang it. Tracy put some guitar on it and they put it out as, Russell Guns, and then that's the record. So that's how it works.
And I don't know if that's, maybe you do know. I don't have any of those records, so I haven't read the credits. If it does say the songs are written by other people, but I know that Tracy's a guitar guru, big time. I mean, he's at home working on guitar stuff all day long, and my guess is
Totally.
he's probably got a zillion tracks. And at some
Sure.
point when they did their deal, he did a bunch of basic tracks with maybe Adam Hamilton played the bass and the
Right.
drums. Tracy played all the guitars. Then they sent him off to Jack and said, put some vocals on these. And then at some point,
I,
somebody else puts some backgrounds and mixes it, and then they send it
I,
off to Frontiers.
I shouldn't say, oh, I know but I know in
Right,
general that is something that happens on Frontiers a
right,
lot.
right,
Tracy might
right.
have written some of that stuff, so you're exactly right.
We're
This is
up.
from
Alert! Alert! Alert!
what?
We're up to 282. We
There we
got to get
go.
it over 300. So I just went on Instagram and I went on my social media posts or on my couple of my Facebook groups, and I'm letting people know we need some more bodies in the Guru Hotel here. Is this the Guru Hotel? Go Guru Hotel.
We need more of the Chaos crew
I'm going to quick do
here.
another 2 blurbs. I'm going to go into Metal Sludge and Glam Rock City and just do a little post.
You go ahead. Here's a comment from, it says shakedown, 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 or shakedown, shakedown. That's got to be from my buddy Theron Paul, who has a band called 77 Shakedown. And I've
Nice,
talked about his stuff a few times on the channel. He's working on a new record. Kelly Nichols is playing on it from LA Guns, Fred Coury from Cinderella. Anyway, his last album, Mojave Dust, is kind of a roots rock. Geez, my voice is going. Americana, but it is fucking amazing. And I know Theron is going to the Monsters of Rock cruise that I will be. Haven't purchased my ticket yet, but I hope to this week. Patrick, if you're there, let's get on that shit. So anyway, Theron Paul from 77 Shakedown in the house, man.
Anthony. Go get a cough drop. I'll answer this question. So Shakedown asks, "Hey Stevie, do you have any Izzy Stradlin stories or Axel stories? What's up, Anthony?" So I don't have any Izzy Stradlin stories that I can remember, but I got a couple of Axel ones. Me and Axel never hung out one on one, but I will tell you a few different things. So one, I remember being at Exposure 54, and this is a club that was happening on Sunday nights, and it was always on a Sunday. It started in like the mid late afternoon, and they'd have a cookout, and so they'd be cooking out, and then there was a couple of stages inside. And I remember one night we were there, and we were in the parking lot. It was probably 8:30 or 9. The sun had gone down, and we were walking up, and then we were outside in front, and there was some people walking up on us, and it was like a group of 4 or 5 guys. And at some point, they walked up and just said, "Hey, who's playing?" And I looked, and it was Axel and like 2 or 3 other guys. So I was like, "Oh yeah, I think Love Hate's in there doing a set." And so it was just kind of like 4 or 5 of us. And it's funny because back in 1988 or 89 or even in the early 90s, as big as Guns N' Roses was, they were not what they have become in the last 20 years. I mean, they were a
Yeah.
big band, they gold or platinum and could pack up, but they were still part of the local community per se, you know? And so I also remember a time our record had just come out, and a girl I knew from Denver was at a Guns N' Roses show, a Use Your Illusion show. And she was backstage. She was a model, attractive. Um, no, we never had relations, but we did. I think we kissed or something like that. So
If you
her
guys
name
don't
was
know what he means by relations, he means this.
yeah, we didn't do that, but her name was Elizabeth, and she was a model. She was very attractive, but I knew her as a friend. And at some point, her and I had met when we played in Denver, and she took some photos with me. And so now she's at a Guns N' Roses show in Denver on the Use Your Illusion tour. Now she's backstage with Axel. They're hanging out. And some point she goes in her purse and pulls out her wallet, and she's looking through to get something out of her wallet. And she had one of those little plastic things with all the photos that you keep in your wallet. And Axel's with her, and he says, "Oh, you have photos? I want to see." So she said, "Okay." So she pulls out her wallet, and she's like, "This is my mom. This is my dog. This is my sister-in-law." Whatever she's going through them. And so Axel's now looking at the pictures, and he's turning the pages, and then he turns the page, and it's a picture with her and I. And Axel says, "I know him." And she goes, "You know Stevie?" And he goes, "Yeah." And then the next picture. So of course the next day she calls me, and she's like, "Axel said he knows you." And
That's
I was
fucking
like, "Oh,
hilarious.
that's awesome." And then I'll give you this third little snippet. This is an awesome part too. So it's kind of sad, but it's kind of awesome at the same time. And it shows you how cool and how respectful Axl Rose was of where he came from. So it's 1991, I believe. Bill Gazzari has died, and I
Okay.
went to Gazzari's, and they had a wake that was being held during the day, a few days before his funeral. And I went to the club, and I walk in, and it's packed. I mean, there was probably 500 or 600 people in this club, and Gazzari's probably didn't hold 500. Probably hold 350 or 400, but it was packed. It was asses to elbows. I barely got in the door, and I was at the very front of the club, looking towards the stage. On the stage was a glass container with Bill's hat in it, because he always wore one of those
Yep.
gangster fedoras. So
Yep.
that was in a glass case in the middle of the stage with a single spotlight on it. And then there was a podium to the left of it, looking at the stage. And when I walked in, there was a man talking at the podium, and he was talking about his son who was on tour, and he couldn't make it. And he called his dad and said, "Dad, if it wasn't for Bill, I might not be here anymore." And so at some point, this man finished his story. And just as he was finishing his story, the door opens and Axel walks in. There's nowhere to go. This place is full. He stands right next to me. So me and Axel were standing next to each other at Bill Gazzari's wake. And I remember I looked over at him, and he's a little shorter than me. He was wearing a suit coat, kind of like he would have dressed in the November Rain video. And I
Yep.
remember he had on those tennis shoes, those Converse that said Axel on the back, on those red and white tennis shoes. And he looked up at me and he just kind of nodded. And then at some point, the man up there said a prayer as he was about to finish his speech. And I remember Axel clasped his hands and bowed his head. We all did. And then when the man got done, he thanked the crowd and walked off. And then the guy that was the master of ceremony said, "Thank you, Dr. Roth." And I realized then that was David Lee Roth's father.
No shit.
Yeah, who had been talking about his son. And if you look, you can read the history. David Lee Roth and Eddie Van Halen talked about this when they got a contract to play Gazzari's. This is before 78. This is like
Yeah.
74, 74,
Yep.
75. And they got a contract to play Gazzari's for the whole week for like $100. And
Yep.
Dave came home and was through the roof. Dad,
Right.
check it out. We're playing Gazzari's. We got a contract. And Dave's father, who was a doctor, he was an optometrist, he was on stage talking about this. So I'm watching Dave's dad talk and said that he was on tour in Sweden at the time and he couldn't make it, but he had called home to talk to his father. And then Axl Rose was standing right next to me. So
Wow.
those are my Axl Rose stories. A few of them.
Wow. Come here, Charlie. Here, I bought Charlie some new Num Nums this week at Costco. So here, everybody
Awesome.
there.
Awesome.
Now you can see Charlie. Oh, let's get one more.
Charlie,
Yeah, but
you are
they got
amazing.
they got real pork in them. Isn't that right? You like real pork. You don't like fake pork. All right.
Charlie's beautiful.
She is the best dog. I took her for a walk today, and these two
Right?
little kids were playing outside. Their mom's sitting there watching. And
Right?
I'm like, I'm like a big scary bald fuck, but I'm like, I look at the mom, I'm like, they can pet her if they want. And I just sat there and they went over and Charlie just sits and is good and smiles. Oh, it was amazing. I got to get to some more questions. So, Stevie, do you keep in touch with Frankie from King of the Hill? Have you heard his new stuff? I've heard some of his new stuff, and in fact, I've talked to him. I would love to have him on for an interview because that debut King of the Hill CD was pretty interesting. So, Stevie, do you keep in touch with Frankie from King of the Hill?
Okay. We're going to find out right now. Can you read that?
Are you there, Frankie? I see. Yep.
I'm going to text him
Apparently you
right
do.
now. Let's see if he answers. I'm going to ask him, dude, I need to talk to you. It's important.
Right, right.
And if he replies, I'm going to put him on the speakerphone. So I've known Frankie since 1989. Tough was on tour. We went to go play in St. Louis, which is where they're from. And we were at the First Rock on Laclede's Landing. Oh, he's replying right now.
That's hilarious. Hard Rocking Trivia Show says, If I Say It was a great power ballad by King of the Hill. I love that song. Marty Martin says, Is Guru okay? He seems very unsettled and jittery. Well, I have a cold, so I think I'm okay, but I probably sound like shit because I've been sick all weekend.
He said, yo.
Anything?
I said, perfect. Okay. Hang on a second. I think Frankie's
Okay.
going to call me right now. So we were playing in Laclede's Landing. Frankie,
What's happening, my man?
can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Can you hear me, Anthony?
I hear you, and I hear Frankie.
Okay, so Frankie, check it out. Dude, you're live on the Hair Metal Gurus Hair Metal Chaos podcast, and Mikey just asked if I keep in touch with Frankie from King of the Hill. So I just want you to give these guys a shout out. You got about 300 people listening and watching, but I just got you on audio. He said he follows you. Talk a little
Okay.
louder, Frankie.
He's
hey guys, you guys having a good tonight?
It's awesome, man. Hey, I want to interview you. So if you're ever up for coming on, let's set that up sometime. And I
Did
sound
you
like
hear?
shit.
Did you hear that, Frankie?
I can't hear them. No.
Yeah. Well, he
Okay.
just said that the hair metal guru guy just said he wants to interview you sometime. He'd love to set it up. And Frankie just said he watches the show. He's watched some of
Okay.
your
Perfect.
podcasts.
Awesome.
Absolutely. Let's set it up. I'd love to talk.
Okay, dude, I don't want to
Perfect.
take any more of your time. I just wanted to let the fans know that you're out there and you're kicking ass. Frankie's got a new
Good to hear from you always.
a new solo record that he put out this last year, and it's awesome. Okay, dude, rock and roll.
Awesome.
Thanks for your call, Frankie.
That's
Okay, buddy.
badass. That's badass. Yeah, that first King of the Hill record, I know I sound like shit. There's a ballad on there that was a single called If I Say, and it was phenomenal. The rest of it, some of it got a little too funky for me, but there's some really good stuff on that record.
Yeah, so when we played in at First Rock in Lacledes in the summer of '89. Matter of fact, it was July, pretty sure, late June, July. And at Soundcheck, we were, waiting for the local band because they were going on, setting up or doing their soundcheck, first. And then we were going to go on as the headliner and set our stuff up.
Yep.
And these guys were not called King of the Hill. They were called Broken Toys.
That's right.
And they got up there and we were like, oh my God, these guys are sick. I mean, Jimmy, the guitarist, was like a Steve Vai type dude, and the bass player was badass, and the drummer George and forget George and Jimmy and Frankie, and there's one other guy, I'm forgetting his name. He's gonna slap me if he watches this. But and then Frankie came out, and I was like, holy shit, this dude is like David Lee Roth and Prince, in a blender, and so much soul and feeling and. So we made fast friends with them. They were awesome. We played 2 days. They played with us both days. I told them, I go, you guys got to go to LA. You got to go to LA and you're going to get a deal.
Yeah.
And they went to LA and they did a showcase and they got signed. And you know who produced their record?
Right. Howard Benson.
Howard Benson, who also produced our record. So then when we were in the studio recording, Howard started calling some of the guys that he had previously worked with to sing background. So we had Ken Mary come in, Kane Roberts came in. And then at some point he called up Frankie, and the little scat thing on the end, the little rap scat thing on the end of Ruckapit Bridge, we had Frankie do that with me. So if you listen to that, you hear, that's Frankie.
Wow.
When you listen to it, you'll hear it. You go, oh, I hear Frankie now. So, but yeah, great guys, great people, and Frankie's a super talent beyond.
So he put out that new record. I've seen some of the videos. I haven't listened to the whole record.
It's great.
But the guy's a superstar.
Yeah. So awesome performer.
Roxanne Marinello, who is always on here, says she had a surgery this morning. She's doing well. If you guys want to know, we do want to know because, yes, I'm glad to hear that your surgery went okay and that you are doing okay.
Roxanne she's from Milwaukee, and she's a big fan. And her husband have come to several shows. His name is Jason. He's cool as hell.
Okay.
And Roxanne's awesome as well. They've come to several tough shows. And get better soon, Roxanne. Who's this from? Yes.
This is from Parlock 480. Says, what did you guys think when industrial music was coming out? Did I like some of the Manson stuff that was industrial? Did I like Who Was in My Room Last Night by the Butthole Surfers? I did like some of it. And I learned to like the third Shotgun Messiah album, Violent New Breed. But was I out buying that stuff and going, fuck yes? No, I wasn't. But I learned to like
Right.
some of it. Yeah.
Oh, well, I liked Manson because he had a lot of he had Alice Cooper in there and Kiss and Motley Crue
Yep.
and obviously that's what Wednesday 13 kind of became and Murder Dolls. I like that stuff. There was a couple of Nine Inch Nails songs that were kind of cool, and maybe a Filter song or two, which those guys got a huge push and a lot of
Yep.
press behind them. But like you said, same thing. I wasn't rushing out to go to shows or saying, wow, these bands are
No.
great. Let me shave the sides of my head and, where,
Right.
they were like, the Trent Reznor thing. And it just wasn't me, but I wasn't against it, I mean,
Yeah.
out of all those bands, like you said, Manson, you know, when I heard the beautiful
Oh,
people,
yeah. Totally.
or whatever it was cool. That wasn't as much industrial though. The Nine Inch Nails and Trent
Yeah.
Reznor and
Yes.
Filter, that was super industrial. I mean, remember Filter? The record was all this crazy hardcore industrial shit. And then there was one song with the airplane, the ballady kind of thing, and that became a massive hit and probably sold them 1 million records. But then the rest of the record
Yes.
was just
Hard, heavy. Yeah.
it sounded like a
Yep.
distorted TV set, the whole time.
Yeah. Here's Nick Fuller. And thank you guys for all the super chats and for the questions. I apologize for those who we don't get to. But Nick Fuller says, do you guys remember or like Razor Maid or Bangalore Choir? And do you guys remember when Patrick Ewing was on Webster? I remember the shit out of Webster. I don't remember Patrick Ewing being on the show. And I love Bangalore Choir. And I did interview David Reese probably last year at some point. And Bangalore Choir just put out a new album called Rapid Fire Succession on Target Part 2. There's some great stuff on there. And I know the name Razor Maid, but I don't remember their music at all.
I don't know who Razor Maid is. I know who Bangalore Choir is, and David Reese, great singer, good guy. I also know Ian, who was the bass player. I'm pretty sure, right?
I think so.
And Jackie Ramos, who the drummer is. As a matter of fact, I saw Jackie Ramos play drums in a band called Kid Courage in 1984 in Wisconsin when I was 18 years old. And he was behind the drums and he sang No More, No More by Aerosmith. And he was great. And they were a cover band from Milwaukee. And that night they had an old school bus. Anybody that follows this, they can fact check me. They had an old school bus and they were driving home from their gig in Oshkosh, which was at Dr. J's. And they had a horrible accident. And Jackie was severely injured and broke both his legs. And a couple months later, another band he played with, I want to say it was called The Machine, played at Barney's in Oshkosh, and Jackie was the drummer. He could not walk to the stage. So the band carried him, put him on his drum throne, and he played the entire set with two somewhat healed broken legs.
Wow.
And then years later, I ran into him in LA when he was in both, I'm pretty sure, Hurricane Alice and Bangalore Choir. So, and I know his wife, Corey, and Jackie Ramos is a true rock and roll soldier. And so I saw him probably before I saw Motley Crue. It might have been 1983, late 83 or early 84. So I remember seeing him in a club with some, this band called Kid Courage, and they were all guys from Milwaukee and playing like covers by Van Halen and Aerosmith and Black Sabbath and all that kind of stuff.
Wow.
Jackie's awesome. Great guy.
Ryan McCusker, thank you for the super chat. He didn't put a question, just wanted to donate. So that is awesome. Thank you, Ryan. And here's one from my buddy Bergie, who used to have a podcast called Rock Resurgence Radio. And he's in Minot, North Dakota. And I really do apologize for my voice, you guys. I knew, I feel fine, but I just knew as I talked more, it was going to get worse. But Bergie says, look forward to your videos every day. And Tuesday night is the highlight. Keep it up, Guru and Stevie. Shout out to my cousin Robbie. I'm sure he's watching. Curious what happened to Brian J. Brian and Jay are people that used to appear on the channel. And here's what I'll say is if you've ever been at a job and you worked with a group of people and then gradually people just move on, you know? So that's kind of what happened. There's been a lot of change in the channel over the last 3 years. And I'll say this, nobody has a clue what goes on behind the scenes. You know, setting up these videos, all the interactions you have. And so I wish those guys great. Brian has his own channel. There's other people that used to come on that are doing their own thing. But sometimes you move on, and I have nothing negative to say about anybody that's ever been on the channel. But the group that's on now, Patrick, Ryan, Stone, Jeremy, Jones, just did another video with Mariah that should be coming out shortly. And obviously Stevie, So the channel's changed a lot, but I love the guys that are on now, and the guys that aren't on now, I wish them nothing but the best. And Stevie is jacked. Holy shit. So Bergie, thank you, man.
Stephanie always says I'm Jack, and I said I'm not Jack. I'm Steve. So, and when I first came up, and if anybody wonders why I keep going like this, it's because if I don't have my glasses,
penis.
if I don't have my glasses, I can't read that at all. Like that to me might as well be written in Mandarin or something. But when I put these on, I'll read it. Ryan McCusker says, "You guys rule. It's my 50th birthday. Holy shit, you do look like you're blind without the glasses." Happy birthday, Ryan McCusker.
Yes. Happy birthday.
You guys rule. It's my 50th birthday. Well, congratulations. 1976, same year that Wednesday 13 was born. We're 10 years apart, and I was born in 1966. So, yeah, when I'm squinting and diving in closely, I'm trying to see that without my glasses, which I can't unless I put these on. These are prescription, by the way.
Yeah. Yeah. The Wednesday 13 interview was phenomenal. And he and I have been texting. And I said, dude, because that guy is a wealth of hair metal knowledge. He was a member of the Tough fan club. He saw you guys when he was like a teenager. There's a picture of him wearing the old white Tough shirt. And I said, dude, you need to come on and just talk hair metal, because I interviewed him about his career.
Right.
But we talked, he told me the whole story about writing Tough and hearing back from you. And I love Wednesday 13 is music. Like, to me, that's the combination of punk, some industrial, and just sleaze rock is, fuck. I love that guy. So anyway.
And he also is super cool, super nice guy. We've just because your screens haven't frozen and we can hear you both. Great show again. Stephanie, $10.
Thank you, Stephanie.
What a sweetheart.
You're the best.
But, she is the best. But yeah, Wednesday's awesome. And we become buddies. Him and I first got in contact when he was in Murder Dolls. And then when they played the Troubadour, I went to the show. As a matter of fact, I went and picked him up, staying in a motel in Van Nuys, and I met Joey then, Joey Jordison, rest in peace.
From the Murder
Dolls. And then me and Wednesday from Slipknot. Then me and Wednesday went to eat at this. I took him to this like 50s diner in Van Nuys, and we ate and hung out, and he was telling me his whole story. And then he kind of explained to me how he had met me when he was a teenager, which I didn't really remember it, but he said that him and his girlfriend were not old enough to get in. They were like 15 or 16. So his girlfriend's grandma drove them to the club, and they sat in the parking lot in the car with grandma and waited for our tour bus to pull in. And then when our tour bus pulled in, of course, they got all excited and got out and then waited for us. When we came off the bus, He said that me and Michael were really cool to him. And then I
Right.
asked him about Todd Chase, and he said Chase was a dick.
He told me that. He told me that.
He did? Yeah,
And he
that's
said, you
awesome.
straighten him out.
Yeah. So I was like, awesome. That's awesome. That's totally Todd. All
He goes,
annoyed. Like,
so I walk up to Todd and I got like a picture of the band. He's like, will you sign this? And Todd's like, well, you got a fucking pen? And I didn't. And he's like, well, I'm probably going to need a fucking pen or
right,
something like that. Something
right,
like
right.
that. So it was hilarious.
That's
It was
awesome.
hilarious. Stephanie, thank you so much. That's so nice of you.
I'll
Here's
make up.
Jordan's.
Hey, just so you know, I'll make up with her in a couple days just to make up for for the thank you.
Well, finally, you can take over for me because I was getting tired of it. What's up? Just kidding. That was funny.
That
Jordan
was.
Skull says, I like listening to Don's interviews. He's a great storyteller, one of the best vocalists. Man, if anybody can get me hooked up with Don Dokken, please let me know. Thank you, Jordan.
Jordan, you do not mean he's one of the best vocalists in modern times, though, correct? Just for the record.
Right,
Just let's
right.
keep it let's keep it real.
We have
All
talked
respect,
about
though.
that.
Don was great. I think what was it called? Tooth and Nail, and what was the Under Lock and Key? What an awesome record!
Oh, that's my favorite. It's my favorite. Um, I got a couple from Mike 19. I just want to say he said, tell Frankie hi from Mike. And then he says, Jones is one of my best friends. Tune in to Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. His name is Chris. He messaged the channel months ago. He's like, dude, he goes, I watched your Janie Lane stuff. He goes, I felt like you were like my long lost brother. He came on to do a video. We started chatting. Now he's a regular on the channel. And I'll just say this, people ask all the time, like, oh, I'd love to come on and do videos with you guys. I get that request a lot. And I would love to just say, of course, come on. But, it's like when you don't know somebody, you don't know, like before I met Stevie, I didn't know if he was going to be like an asshole or a fuckface or whatever. I learned to like him. But anyway, so I appreciate people who ask to come on. Jones, just one thing led to another, but awesome guy. Go subscribe to his channel, Hanging with Drummer Boy Jones. And now I'm done with the super chats. I'm gonna go back into the live and see if I can find some more comments. I know I've missed a ton. So Stevie, one thing that we didn't talk about last week, and we did a video, was on the Monsters of Rock cruise. And I don't expect you to go through that, but maybe we should encourage people to, because I'm going to be there, you're going to be there, Patrick's going to be there. So maybe we can encourage people to sign up and come party with us on the boat.
Oh, so you and Patrick have made up your mind? You guys are going to go on the cruise?
Oh, well, fuck. I mean, he said he's going. We haven't bought our tickets yet. I don't
Yeah.
care if I need to buy my own fucking room. I'm going. So,
Yeah. Well, I'll tell you, I've been on these, half a dozen times. The West Coast once. This will be number 2. Obviously, the East Coast, I don't know, 4 or 5 times. They're always a blast. They really are. It's a lot of fun. And I guess if you're a fan of the music and the era and everything that goes with it, you're literally going to you're going to be on a ship for 5 days, and there's going to be 100 concerts that you can attend. Minimum. 100 concerts
right,
minimum, and
right.
then there's going to be meet and greets and photo ops and Q&As and all the other stuff. I mean, there's literally I sent you a list of what happens throughout the day just recently.
Yes.
I mean, basically
Yes.
from like 10 or 11 in the morning until midnight, there's something happening 2-3 times an hour, So, I mean, there's like probably 30 to 40 things happening every single day, whether
Yep.
it's like 20 live shows, 4 or 5 meet and greets, 3 or 4 Q&As. Then there's all kinds of other stuff like little acoustic shows, storyteller stuff, some comedy. They play some random movies. There's karaoke. I mean, people have talked about this. You get karaoke and then somebody from like, Jeff Tate gets up there and sings Whip It by Devo or something. It's pretty fun, Not that he did that, but I mean, there's guys in bands that get up there and they're suddenly singing, cover songs that are just everyone's having a blast. So it's a
Do,
great
do,
time.
do you guys ever like hang out at night to like you and other bands and maybe set up jams or hey fuck come up on
They
my
they
stage and
they
sing
they,
with
they
me?
yeah, a lot of that happens. Like Billy, I know Billy's got up and jammed with Killer Dwarfs a couple times. One of the shows we did, I remember I asked Jamie St. James because he sang backgrounds on Good Guys Were Black when we did the remaster, the
Right.
reimagined version with George Lynch
Yep.
on guitar. So I said to Jamie, this was a few cruises ago, hey, do you want to get up and sing those couple parts with me? And he said, sure. So Jamie came to the show, and then he got up on stage and sang the backgrounds and this little co-lead thing that we do after the solo. So yeah, a lot of bands do that. And then there's also Joel Hoekstra and whoever. There'll be a couple of jam bands that there'll be a mishmash of guys that'll get up and do everything. I mean, you name it. They could be doing Bad Company songs. They could be doing Sabbath or Ozzy or just a mix.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
always a blast. It's just a blast.
I haven't the last true vacation I took that wasn't like, okay, I'm going with family. We went to Washington State last summer, a family thing. In 2016, I flew to Amsterdam by myself because
Wow.
I'm infatuated with the Diary of Anne Frank. I taught it when I was a teacher and I was like,
Okay.
it was on my bucket list to go see that. And
Right.
to find somebody to fly to Amsterdam with you is damn near impossible. So I
Right.
went by myself for a week. I went to the Anne Frank house twice, and somebody's going to go, did you go to the red light district? Do you really think I would go to the red light district? Probably not. No, I'm just kidding. Anyway,
I
it was a
I
blast.
played I played Holland multiple times, and I never went to the red light district.
Really?
Seriously. As a matter of fact,
Okay.
well, the first time I was in Holland was in 2000, and we actually played in a place called Zandam. And I remember the next day, this was my first time in Europe with Shameless, and Bruce Kulick
Mm-hmm.
was there, and some other guys. But I remember I was I was only on the tour for a couple days, and we were in a tour bus and whatever else. But I remember we played a show, and then we got into Holland, and everybody was. I didn't really know everybody because there was some guys from Europe and Germany and Denmark and different places. But I remember everybody went and did their thing, and the next day on the bus, some of the guys were talking about going to the red light district and
Mm-hmm.
seeing the girls in these windows, opening their clothes, and I was just like and these guys went and did it. They went and hung out, and I was just like, wait, how come nobody told me you were going? So I didn't go. That was not by choice. I didn't know. But then we played there a couple other times, and that wasn't interesting to me. It really wasn't.
Okay.
So, but I mean, a lot of people go to Holland as well because they want to smoke hash, and they have all those hash bars and pot
Yes.
bars, and that was a huge deal, especially for guys that partook. I never did.
Right.
Now, obviously, in America, there's multiple states that it's legal, but 25, 35 years ago, when they go to Europe because they were like, hey, I like pot, I like hash, I like whatever it is, whatever
Right.
illegal substances, and that's also one of the countries that has obviously legal sex, and they also have the legal sex shows, which I think I talked to you about this at some point. Maybe some listeners know there was a band from England, if I'm not mistaken, called Rock Bitch, and Rock Bitch was two girls and an
Oh
all
yeah.
male backup band,
We were
and they
talking
would
about this.
correct. And they would go to Holland to put on their show because it was a live sex show. They couldn't do it in England or other parts of Europe, but in Holland they could. So they would go there and do this show. And the lead singer girl, who was pretty damn attractive, and then she had
Yes.
like a slave assistant, guy drummer, guy guitarist, guy bass player, then a girl lead singer. And she would perform nude and drink water the whole show. And then her little assistant, which was another hot chick, she would drag her by a collar and then make her lay down on the drum riser. And the singer girl would squat over her. And if you're not into triple X, plug your ears. She would pee in her mouth on the drum riser in front of a live crowd. Then the guy groupies that were at the shows would have these helmets with dildos fastened to the front of their helmets. And they would go up in the front row with their head like this. And the girls would literally stick they would F the dildos.
Hold on, let me show you.
Yeah, exactly. So then, and then there was the whole show was sex, and all the songs were sex. And if anybody wants to Google this, go ahead. There's a Wikipedia, rock bitch, just like it sounds. And then at the very end of the show, they would throw all these condoms in the crowd. And then the guy who got the golden condom got to go backstage and screw them both.
No shit.
No joke. So on that
Holy
tour, the guys that I was touring with, Alex Michael, shame on you, had the video, or somebody had the video, and we were watching it. Which, by the way, you should interview Alex. Alex Michael from Shameless would be a great interview because he's got amazing Kiss stories about Vinnie Vincent and Mark St. John and everybody related to Kiss, and he's friends with all of them.
We were messaging. Now it's probably been a couple months ago, and I like we're Facebook friends, so I see all these pictures, and I get so fucking far behind. But I absolutely would love to talk to him because that would be awesome.
So I'll finish my story. So my Holland story is the Rock Bitch Band would only play in Holland because they couldn't do the show anywhere else. I mean, it was live sex on stage with the band playing in the background. So while the band's playing, the girls are dildoing each other and eating each other and peeing on each other and peeing on the crowd. And the funniest thing, though, is there's guys wearing helmets that have dildos fastened. Let me just make it like a pretend dildo, like, you know, so the dildos, they're literally in the front row.
Charlie,
you know,
go over there. Go over there.
So they're in the front row like this, and then the girls are literally they're having sex with these helmet dildos in the front row. So that's how crazy Holland is. That's how crazy it is.
I'll just say it. I did go to a sex show, but I'll be straight up honest. I get no thrill from strip bars or even that sex show. I'm like, okay.
Me neither.
Like I'm sitting with there's a bunch of people in there.
I got to fix my headband. So there we go.
There you go. And they're fucking. But I'm like, I mean, there's a bunch of people, you know, I'm like, so, and strip bars, I've never, and I'm into sex, but that stuff does nothing for me.
I agree. I remember on all the tours we went to, we'd occasionally go to a strip club, but if I did, I would literally buy a water or an orange juice or a ginger ale and watch. Like, not to mention, at that point, I was so broke. I'm like, I don't have $5 to give her because she showed me her tits, you know, or anything else.
Yes.
And the thing is, when you go to these places and they say, hey, do you want some company? Well, now they want to sit next to you. And if a dance happens, and the thing what DJs do, and I DJ'd a strip club a couple times. You know what they do at strip clubs, which I didn't really realize this until I have a great DJ Ashba story, which I'll tell you in a second. But the crazy thing about a strip club, and I used to work at a Spearmint Rhino in Van Nuys. I was a doorman, security, floor manager, whatever you want to call it. And I did a couple other stints. But the thing about the strip club is when you're paying for a lap dance, let's say it's $20, right? Or $25. When the girl comes up and says, would you like a lap dance for the next song? And you're like, oh, okay. So you give her $20 and then the next song starts and the DJ, he's queuing everything up. So if the song is 3 minutes long, trust me, you're not getting to have a lap dance to 21:12. You know, there's no 12 or 15 minute songs. If it's a 3 minute song,
Yeah.
If it's a 3-minute song, like say Wild Side or Girls, Girls, Girls by Motley, they've already queued that song in 15 or 20 seconds. So by
Yeah.
the time they switch it, they're already almost to the chorus. Now the girl's doing her thing and stuffing her boobs in your face. And then by the end of the solo, chorus plays once and they start to fade that music down. And they're like, okay, guys, tip your girls. Make sure you tip those bartenders and waitresses. And by the way, we're having 2-for-1s right now from 10 to 10:30. And by that point, now the music's already faded out. 2 minutes, 2 minutes
Yeah.
and 30 seconds. She's like, okay, do you want another? Okay. Now you give another 20. Fades in another song. They're literally fading those songs in and out at 2.5 minutes. So you don't really get a lot of time with those boobs in front of you. Hey, if there's gonna be boobs in front of me, I'd like to do something with them. I don't want them just dancing
Right.
around in front of me. So
Right.
I've never, even when I was young, I was
Yeah.
never into the strip club scene. Just wasn't my thing.
I I'll tell you this. I got my nipple pierced at a strip bar in Ariska, North Dakota. I shit you not. Ariska, North Dakota is a town of about 200 people. And right on the outside of the interstate, about a mile from the town, was this. I mean, this is the shittiest, nastiest strip bar ever, but it's about 7 miles from where I went to college. And I probably, in the 4 years I was in college there, probably went to that place 3 times. And one time I saw a guy put a dollar bill in between his zipper and his dick. And a chick went down and put her mouth on his dick for about 2 seconds and then took the dollar bill. But I had a stripper. I was hammered. Both of her tits were huge. They were pierced and a chain in between the two of them. And I asked her if she would pierce my nipple. And she
Right?
did. And she was super nice about it. Pierced my nipple with a fucking clothespin. And 2 days later, I asked my mom for an earring. And I put that earring in my nipple and wore that for like 8 years. So nice girl and a
Okay.
hell of a good cook.
So
So that's
do
my
you know what?
stripper story.
So what you just said about the stripper thing, do you know what feed the kitty means?
Feed
For
the
real?
kitty.
Do you know what that means for real?
No.
Well, I learned this at some point back in the day, which I didn't know this. Feed the kitty is something that strippers do at bachelor parties. And in
But I
order
bet
to
I've
feed
done
the
it
kid,
before. Go ahead.
well, but here's the thing: the kitty is obviously her vagina, and we're almost at 300. I saw 294. Come on, you guys, get on Facebook. Let's see if we can get this over
I saw
300 for at least a few.
297 at one point.
Okay, okay,
Anyway,
good.
okay.
But what feed the kitty is in the stripper world when they go on a bachelor's party is guys, all the guys that are there, and they can't do this with ones. It's got to be like 20s,
Yeah.
50s, or hundreds. They roll up a $20 bill like this, right?
Yep.
Now the guy lays on the floor, right?
Oh,
He
I know.
puts this in his
Okay.
mouth,
Yes.
and then she lowers her vagina over, and this is if this is your mouth, she smashes her vagina onto the money. So now the vagina is touching your mouth, which is a very disgusting thing. I don't like that activity. It's very
Ever?
gross.
Ever? Or just
I'm
with the
not
stripper?
actually it's my favorite thing to do.
Because I'll tell you what, I put my faces in some places that a billy goat would puke. All right, just so you know.
me me too. But anyways, so yeah, that's what feed the kitty is. Is they stuff the money in their mouth.
Okay.
Anthony, you just froze, but maybe it'll move because you did freeze one time for a second before, but it moved.
Did it move yet?
No, you're still there, but we're going to give it a second because it did pop back after a few seconds. We're at 296. Tell some more friends. But yeah, feed the kitty is when the guy puts the money in his mouth and then she uses her vagina to pick it up.
Am I
So
still froze?
you're still frozen. We're at 297. You got to
Okay, I'm
come
going to
back and
refresh it.
we're gonna get back to 300. So listen, everybody, thank you so much. I know we still got a little time left, but thank you so much for logging on today. And Anthony is going to unfreeze himself. And behind me, you see one of my shelves in my And this is actually my sun porch workout room. My bench is right over there. My heavy bag is right over there. The mannequin that I take all the photos of all the shirts is right over there. And then behind me is a shelf with all the boxes are vinyl, all the different CDs. Like Anthony, mention a title from the RLS catalog. I'm just giving a little, you know.
Wild Side, The Wasted Years.
Okay, so that's going to be right here. And you know what? Since Anthony just said that, I'm going to do this. For anybody that wants a free copy of this, all you got to do is buy any vinyl or any t-shirt from my store this week, and I'll throw in a free copy of Wild Side, The Wasted Years. This is a great record. It's the
Yes.
third record, and it's got Easy as 1, 2, 3, Dance Swing. It's got the Crash Diet song, which was co-written by Axl and Wes Arkeen. And this CD is like their debut. The second record with the Lizard was very grunge, very Stone Temple. I actually liked it a lot, but a lot of people always think if this is going to be, is that too? There we go. The glare is off there. They think that this is going to be a lot like that. There's a song or two like Hemi Cuda is actually a little kind of
Yep.
white zombie-ish, but Easy as
Yes.
1, 2, 1, 2, 3, and Dance Swing and Crash. All those are very they're young guns, is what they are. You know, they're so yeah. All of the different RLS titles are here, and this is I got another little desk in here. My office is actually in a different bedroom in my house, but I have a few different spots where I can work from, and here's where I'm doing the Guru from today. So here
Hey
we are.
Stevie, why don't you tell us one story about DJ Ash, but don't make it too long because I got a lot more to get through.
Okay,
But
so
this
I'll
is
just make
from that one mortgage guy. So thank you.
so it's 1998, maybe 99, something like that. I was at the Reseda post office. I walk in, there's a super hot girl in line in front of me. And I'm standing there looking at
Obviously.
her. And she's like, wow, I'm like, wow, this chick is hot as hell. And then at some point, a couple minutes later, her boyfriend walks in who has long blonde hair and a flannel shirt and some overalls. And he comes up and he puts his arm around her and gives her a kiss, kind of marking his territory. So I was like, she's got a boyfriend. So then they're in front of me. They finish. They check their shit out. They leave. I do my packages. I come out in the parking lot. There's a pickup truck slowly rolling through the parking lot, and it slows down, and the window rolls down, and it's the guy with the long hair and his hot chick in the passenger seat. And he looks at me and he goes, "Hey, is your name Stevie Rachelle?" I said, "Yeah." He said, "Hey man, I'm DJ Ashba. I just moved here from Indiana. This is my band called Ghost Dance. We're playing.
Good.
If you want to come and see us, blah, blah, blah." And I said, "Cool, dude. Thanks for the flyer." And so I said hi to him. That was the first time I met DJ. He had just moved here. And then over the years, I'd seen him around in some clubs. He played with, I think, Bullet Boys a little bit and a couple of different bands. And then I remember hearing about how him and Joel Estee and Anthony Fox and a couple other guys formed this new band called Beautiful Creatures. And
Yep.
they all cut their hair. They played a few shows, and then suddenly they got a big record deal on Warner Brothers. They were on Ozfest, and so yeah, I've known DJ for probably almost 30 years. He was always a super cool guy, and we haven't talked in some time, but we've probably shared a couple of messages in the last few years. He's messaged me maybe once or twice. I've shared something, and he said thanks a lot. So DJ's a good guy.
I remember when Beautiful Creatures came out, a lot of us were like, fuck, here we go. You know, Joe
Right,
Lestay was in it,
right,
and we were like, here
right,
we go.
right.
This is going to be. Um, oh, I just wanted to. Hey, we have people watching from Spain. Holy shit.
Awesome.
Rodrigo Labara. Thank you so much. That is awesome. Patrick Reeves is back. Patrick, you're the man. I have been watching a bunch of documentaries on Michael Hutchence lately. So, see, Patrick is a massive Michael Hutchence fan. Stevie, he wants to know what your thoughts are on Michael Hutchence of In Excess.
I thought NXS was cool. Obviously, mid 80s MTV. The guy was obviously a stud. Girls loved him. Good looking guy. The band had big success. He was a very interesting character. Obviously had a little bit of an eccentric personality. It's sad that he died the way he did. I mean, what was he, masturbating and choking himself or something?
I,
Is that what they think?
he hung himself. I've heard the rumor that, but I don't. I think it was just suicide. I
Yeah,
don't think it
yeah.
was a sexual thing.
So I mean, other than, having a couple of the records, Kick or whatever it was called. I think there was a skateboarder on the cover. Obviously, huge record, sold a lot. But other than that, never saw him in concert, never met him that I remember. But a super talent, and a sad ending to his life.
Yeah. Jordan Scholes says Ozzy is the greatest of all time forever. You probably find a lot of people that would agree with you there, Jordan. And Johnny Ponder says Gatlinburg this year, Guru. You will miss a killer show. Patrick and I are hoping to go to Gatlinburg to Monsters on the Mountain. So Patrick, we got to talk maybe tomorrow and figure that shit out. And Stevie, do you get along with the Veins of Jenna guys? Will you talk to Lizzie on the cruise? Will there be a reunion?
Well, will there be a Veins of Jenna reunion? I doubt it, because the drummer isn't keen for it.
Yeah.
The Veins of Jenna guys were offered a reunion to play Sweden Rock some years ago, maybe 10 years ago or more. And Lizzie was down and Nikki was down. And I think even JP, the bass player, was down. But JP's younger brother, Jackie, he's kind of been, for lack of a better description, the sore spot in the band. And he didn't want to do it. And they didn't want to do it unless it was all of them. I'm still in contact with Lizzie and Nikki. As a matter of fact, when I did the Veins of Jenna vinyl, which came out amazing,
Yep.
there's black and red, and there's also, of course, you can get it on CD from RLS Records. Lizzie loved it. Nikki loved it. They thought it was awesome. The brothers, not so much. The brothers are JP and Jackie. They've kind of... Jackie stepped away from music altogether. I think he maybe had a kid, got married. He's just... He kind of looks back on it with some level of bitterness, sadly. Those years for me were great.
Right.
I love that band. I took them from young kids and made a lot of stuff happen for them. So Lizzie's new band is awesome, The Cruel Intentions. I was hanging out with Matt's a little bit on the last cruise he was there. And Lizzie's going to be here with The Cruel Intentions at the Whiskey in September. And I will be there. Unless I have some show that pops up, I'll be out of town, then I wouldn't go. But if I'm in town, I'm going. And Lizzie's awesome. Lizzie's a rock star in my book. He always was. He always will be. And that was a great time for me.
I love the Cruel Intentions. I love
awesome.
that. And Veins of Jenna. I remember when they came out. That's another band that everybody was like, "Oh, these guys are going to bring back glam metal, and it's going to be awesome." And they were fantastic band.
Yep.
Adam Jason Live says, "Hell yeah, Hair Metal Chaos. Love this channel. Became a member. Thank you. You can become a member. There are different levels. And usually when you're a member, you get early access to some of the videos.
Yep.
I try to respond to your comments. I don't always, because I put out 5-6 videos a week and I coach. So, but anyway, if you just are like, hey, I'd like to help the channel out, that's an option. Always go to Metal Sludge, man. The what comes around goes around vinyl. Fist First. Let me say this. Fist First turns 32 years old today. So that is available on vinyl. I love that record, man. Fantastic. So happy birthday to Fist First.
People were asking for years, when vinyl started coming back, they're like, hey, why don't you put your records out on vinyl? Well, at some point, obviously, I went out and got the license through Rhino Entertainment and Warner Music Group. So you can get, as he just said, the what comes around. It's a gatefold. There's multiple color options. And then at some point, I did the Fist First. I did the Glam years. Obviously, I put out Jim Gillette's Proud to Be Loud. on vinyl, which also turned
Yep.
out great. And The
Yep.
Veins of Jenna, The Art of Telling Lies. It's a lot of work. It's a lot of work, and it's expensive as well because the manufacturing of a vinyl record is literally 5-6 times the cost of a CD. You know,
Right.
so it's just it's great though. I think for younger fans, it's new for them and exciting, including the CD, because there's a period when a lot of these bands were just using their little audio card. They can have 10,000 songs on their iPod or whatever they're listening to, and some of those fans didn't have the experience that we did growing up and looking at the credits and turning the pages and
Yes.
going, wow, and then reading, hey, this is where it was mastered, and this is who the studio, and this was the background singers, and this was the photographer. You don't see that when you look at Spotify or you just have earphones in. With a physical product, they have all that they can, I
And
guess,
and
connect with.
I think, and I was teaching. I think that nostalgia is becoming a thing where some kids are kind of realizing, like, I don't have anything. And
Right.
some kids don't care about that. But my son, even though he's not really into hard rock and metal like he was when he was a kid, we go to the record store. He buys some vinyl records. It's mainly rap shit. I don't know where I went wrong, but and I sell all this shit in my house. I get a lot of college kids who are like, "Hey, I want some stuff for my apartment to put up on my walls." So, and a lot of kids, they started learning this shit from their parents and they're getting into this music. And now we have all these channels. We have Metal Sludge. So there's a lot of options for kids to learn about it. And we just went over 2 hours and we are at 292. There's Jim Gillette, proud to be loud. I
with
did a
with
unboxing video for that.
with Michelangelo. Yeah, the old glam stuff. It still has some kind of life. There's some kind of shelf life
Yep.
for it. I mean, obviously, Harry Cody's popped up recently, and he's playing with Rhino Bucket. He's going to be on the cruise next year, and I know a lot of people are super stoked. I see when you did the
Oh,
video and anything that Harry posts, which I became friends with him in the last year. Super nice guy, super talented,
yeah.
ripping guitarist still, and it's got some great stories too. So hopefully, it'd be great if him and the guys at some point decided to maybe do something. But like Harry said, Tim's busy right now. He's with Manson, and you can't compete with that level of whatever's happening there, shows, income,
Right.
stuff like
Right.
that. But
Right.
support all the
So,
bands,
yeah. Jeff McPeak, thank you for that last donation. And let's finish with this one. Jeff Perry says, "You guys are the best entertainment." And let me just one last time apologize. My voice should be back next week. I'm sorry for people who are like, dude, what the fuck's wrong with you? So I
Right.
should be back. Stevie, is there anything you want to say before we wrap it up? Week 5 of Hair Metal Chaos.
Just thanks to everybody. Thanks to everybody. It's been a fun little thing to do. Last week was a little stressful. I had some
Yep.
issues. I've since got a mic. Also got some earbuds that I used. And the thing is, doing the StreamYard every week, there's little things that I'm not used to, and you weren't used to either, because
No.
a lot of the videos you
No.
did, you're doing them on a Tuesday or Wednesday. You edit some stuff, and then you put it
Yep.
out the following Monday or 2 weeks
Yep.
later. This
Yep.
is live, like a suicide. If you
Yep.
freeze or something happens, and technology is what it is. This is a brand new Dell laptop, and I'm not a techie person, so
Neither am
had a
I.
few had a few hiccups. Shout out to Chris Aiken at the
Yeah.
Classic Metal Show.
Yep.
He's been cool and gave us a few tips. Chris is an OG when it comes to podcasts and all this kind of
Yep.
stuff. We're friends with him, and we reached out, and he actually reached out to you a few times and said, "Hey, man,
Yep.
let me help you out with this, that, or the other." So
Yep.
Chris and the Classic Metal Show and his buddy Neely, I've known those guys forever. They're good people. They gave us a shout out. And like I said earlier, I was going to do this every week, but today, since you mentioned the Wild Side, anybody that orders any vinyl or any T-shirt from me this week, I'm going to put this in there for free. It's a great record, and I always put some other stuff as well. So hit my store up on the
Absolutely.
Sludge and support Anthony. There's some donation links in there. Charlie could use some more dog biscuits, and we appreciate you guys coming by. We got some other things up our sleeve. We've just been kind of testing. We got a few things we've been working out. We haven't shared everything yet. So today was just show number 5, and thanks for stopping by.
And people will ask if we're going to get guests. We will absolutely get guests. We wanted to establish the show as Stevie and I first before we start venturing into that, but there will happen. There will be some surprises in the future. So you guys are the best. We almost got to 300 today, and I consider that fantastic. So
Me too.
please tell everybody next week we will be back for show number 6. 5 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Central. We'll see you then. We're tuning out right now. And here's our final goodbye. See you
Thank
guys.
you.